The Arm of the Starfish by Madeline L'engle. 8. He woke up slowly, not because anybody was knocking at the door, or in any way trying to disturb his rest, but because he had at last finally had enough sleep. For a moment, remembering nothing, he stretched his eyes closed, his body languid, his mind soothed by his body's comfort. Then the events of the past 3 days came sliding back into his relaxed and unsuspecting brain, so that his body stiffened with the shock of recollection, and his eyes flew open. He was still in the golden room at the Ritz. Polly and Arcangelo were nowhere to be seen, but a fair young man was sitting on a green velvet chair reading. As Adam moved, the young man's gaze flicked alertly toward the bed. "So they're awake," he said. Adam sat up, every muscle tense and wary. "Who are you?" "Joshua Archer of the American Embassy, at your service." "Are you the ambassador?" The young man laughed. Easy, spontaneous laughter. I'm not sure the ambassador would appreciate that. Hardly. I'm the lowest of the low. Still lulled with sleep, Adam thought that Joshua Archer must be a friend of Callie's and Mr. Cutter's, one of their embassy crowd, but he remembered the call Polly had made Arcangelo put through to the embassy. How was it possible that both Callie and Polly should assume the protection of the embassy? He looked warily at the young man. "You're the one Polly called?" "Yes." "Where is she?" "On Gaia with her parents. They phoned the embassy when they reached the island, and the embassy in turn was kind enough to call me here." "It seems to me," Adam said slowly, "that I heard the phone ring several times." "You might have." The young man leaned back in his chair and smiled pleasantly at Adam. Adam stared back and waited. Joshua Archer was a nicely made young man with a lean face, but with nothing anyway conspicuous about him. All Adam saw was light brown hair, grayish eyes, a Brooks Brothers-style suit. A young man who looked like any nice, normal American. Adam's scowl and stare deepened. The only thing he felt might single Joshua out from anyone just through college and starting to make his own way in the world was a look of sadness lurking in the eyes, and this Adam did not consciously identify. All he knew was that there was something about the young man's steady gaze that invited confidence, and this very face put him on his guard. "Well?" the young man said, still smiling. "Well?" Adam asked back. "Would you like something to eat?" "Yes, I suppose so, thank you." The young man came over to the lemon-yellow phone by the second bed and called, speaking in Portuguese, so that Adam did not have any idea what was being ordered, or even, indeed, if the young man were really calling room service. Perhaps he was reporting that the dumb kid, Adam Eddington, was finally awake. Perhaps he was getting something else awful lined up for Adam's further confusion. If the boy had not such a full and uninterrupted sleep, he would probably have felt very sorry for himself. As it was, he simply tensed up so that he would be ready for whatever happened next. Joshua Archer went back to his chair and continued to smile questioningly at Adam. Adam became more and more uncomfortable. Finally, he said, "What time is it?" Joshua Archer looked around the room. The golden draperies were still pulled across the windows and no light filtered through. "Around 9 in the evening. You went to sleep yesterday morning, so you've had about 36 hours. Feeling better?" "Yes, thanks." "The bathroom is there," Joshua said. When Adam returned, he continued, "Now the problem is what to do with you. You are rather a problem, Adam. Sorry." "The ambassador was all for sending you back to Woods Hole immediately." Without stopping to think, Adam responded bitterly, "You mean I should crawl right back into the hole I crawled out of?" Joshua laughed again. "Is it as bad as all that? It might help if someone would tell me just what is going on." Joshua's voice was smooth as silk, his face as expressionless. "Didn't Typhon Cutter? What about him?" Joshua shrugged. "Oh, nothing much, or is there?" Adam was silent. "The last time I saw him was at a party at the embassy the evening Polly was kidnapped." "Oh?" Adam asked politely. There was a knock. Joshua shot a sharp glance at Adam, then unlocked the door. Arcangelo came in, rolling a dinner cart. He looked at Adam, but he did not smile, and he did not speak. He wheeled the cart over to the table and spread a tablecloth, put out silver and plates. From covered dishes a delicious smell rose. When dinner was set out, he looked over at Joshua, who simply nodded. Arcangelo glanced again at Adam, then left, closing the door quietly behind him. Joshua locked the door from the inside, came back to the table, and sat down, beckoning to Adam. Come on, you'll feel better after you've had some food. I'd feel lots better if I knew more about what was going on. Joshua looked at him thoughtfully. Yes, we all would, but I can't be open with you unless you'll be open with me. Adam was sitting on the side of the bed, still in his traveling suit, which was by now thoroughly wrinkled. He leaned down and reached for his shoes, put them on. He walked rather stiffly to the table. He said, I'm sorry, but I'm so confused that I don't think I can be very open with anybody. He pulled out his chair, deliberately trying to curb his instinctive liking for Joshua. I'm just a dumb American kid, and the things that have been happening are beyond me. Joshua ladled some interesting-smelling soup into Adam's dish. Fair enough. We'll try to clear up what we can. Mind if I ask you a few questions? You don't have to answer if you don't want to, but I'd appreciate it if you'd try. Then I'll know better what to do next. Do you want to go back to America? Oddly, Adam wasn't even tempted. He was in the middle of this thing, and it was a mess, and he hated it. But he knew that he could not deliberately walk out on it until he knew what it was about. No. Then what do you think you should do? Adam swallowed some of the soup. It was delicious and delicate, with a faintly sour sorrel taste. I think I should go to Gaia and work with Dr. O'Keefe the way Dr. Didymus wanted me to. And Dr. O'Keefe, what about him? Do you think he wants you? That was the understanding when I left Woods Hole, but things have happened since then. Do you think he can trust you? Why not? Adam asked warily. He told you not to open the door of your room at the Avenida Palace, didn't he? Yes. You opened it. Yes? Why? It seemed to me that it was the right thing to do. Why? I was alone, and Polly was kidnapped, and I was responsible for her. Did you think opening the door would help you find her? Yes. Why? I just did. Sighing rather absently, Joshua removed the soup plates. Adam had not quite finished his soup and put them on the serving cart. Raising the metal dome from a platter of fish, Joshua asked, Did you open the door of your own accord and go blundering off in the dark in the middle of the night to look for Polly? Or is someone on the other side of the door? Did you let someone into the room? Adam did not answer, and Joshua deftly placed the sauce-colored fish on his plate, then handed him a bowl of little wrinkled olives. Adam took an olive, and it was tender and delicious. With the pit still in his mouth, he said, I don't think I can tell you. He looked at Joshua and fought down the temptation to spill everything out to him. Putting the olive pit on his plate, he said, I'd like to tell you, it's just that I have to know more about what's what. Joshua nodded. Yes, I see. From your point of view, this is perfectly reasonable, but under the circumstances, this entire situation is too potentially explosive for me to be able to do anything until I know more about what happened from the moment you opened the door. I'm going on the assumption that you opened it to someone. Unless I can find out where you went and who you were with, I shall have no alternative to sending you back to the States. With an expert stroke of his knife, he removed the backbone of his fish. Adam asked, Do you know what happened up to the time I opened the door? Yes, I have talked at length with Polly, with her father, and on a closed embassy line with Canon Tallis in Madrid. I completely understand how confusing all of this must be for you, and Father Tallis is inclined to trust you, and he's a perceptive old boy. I have a lot of faith in his judgment. He's never blinded by sentimentality. If I'd put Polly in your charge and you'd let her disappear, I'd have had you on the next jet to New York. Sorry, Adam. I know it wasn't your fault. All I mean is that I'd have blamed you, fault or no, out of my own guilt, and Canon Tallis didn't. Adam said excitedly, But then, you see, I had to open the door. Why I had to try to find Polly. It was the only way I knew. Yes, Joshua said thoughtfully. I see that. Okay, after we've finished dinner, we'll go to my flat. Your luggage has been taken there. You can change into fresh clothes, and then maybe it might be a good idea if we go to the embassy. If there's anyone you'd like to talk to, it can be arranged from there. Who would I want to talk to? Canon Tallis? Adam shook his head. Your parents? I don't want them upset. Dr. Didymus? I think it might help if you talk to him. I don't know, Adam said. I just don't know. Eat your fish, Joshua told him. Brain food, my grandmother always used to say. You mean you think I don't need it? Joshua laughed. Don't we all? He removed the fish plates to the serving tray and helped Adam to meat, rice, carrots. Still hungry? I've never managed to get used to 2 7-course meals in a day, or so I get around it by not eating at lunch. It's been a couple of days since you've eaten, hasn't it? It probably has, Adam said. I don't remember. But I am still hungry, and this is very good. Then, feeling that perhaps he had been too friendly, he picked up his knife and fork. If only he did not have this instinctive feeling that Joshua Archer was someone to be trusted, he could be more objective. But if Typhon Cutter and Callie were right, then Joshua was the last person in the world to trust. Adam, said Joshua, have you seen Carolyn Cutter since you went into the coffee shop with her at the airport in New York? How do you know I saw her there? I happen to know it from several sources, Joshua said. The one that might interest you most is Typhon Cutter. He mentioned it at the dinner table in the embassy. You mean the night Polly was kidnapped? Yes. You're sure Polly is all right? I told you. She's on Gaia with her parents. How do I know you're telling me the truth? You don't. You're just going to have to follow your instincts about me one way or the other. Adam glowered across the table. But I don't trust my instincts anymore, Mr. Archer. Call me Josh, okay? What's wrong with your instincts? They're just not working, Adam said. I do have a feeling that somebody has to be right and somebody has to be wrong. But I haven't a dream who is which. Would it help if I tell you that I trust you? I don't know. All I can tell you is that if I needed to be taken down a peg, I'd have been taken. Because Polly was kidnapped while you were in charge of her. That, Adam said, but mostly because I can't trust my own decisions or my own thoughts. I used to be pretty sure of myself. I thought I could handle just about any situation. You handled some pretty rough ones in New York, didn't you? Well, Adam said, yes. How did you know? Dr. O'Keefe was kind enough to let me see his dossier on you. How did he know? His work is too important for him to take any chances. You weren't aware that you were being investigated. No, I guess I wasn't. I thought Dr. Didymus' recommendation was all that I needed. Not even old Doc's word is enough for something as vital as this. What I liked best of what I read about you was the time you and your Puerto Rican friend Juan, wasn't it? Yes. The time you two managed to stop a rumble from starting. Maybe that's what makes me trust you. Makes me know you're fighting on the same side I am. But I think I'd trust you even if I didn't know anything about you. Have some salad? Of course. Adam watched while Joshua served. Could I ask you a question? Fire ahead. You say you know I went into that coffee shop with Callie, yes. She told me her father has business here. That's right, he does. And that he knows lots of people at the embassy. Correct. Do you know him? Slightly. I'm not important enough for him to bother with. What do you think of him? He's a very clever man. Do you trust him? About as far as I could throw a bathtub. Is this instinct, or do you have reasons? Both. Could I know the reasons? Joshua seemed to ponder. Finally he said, he cares more about money than he does about anything else, money and power, and he doesn't care who's sacrificed as long as he gets them. Is Dr. O'Keefe powerful? Not in his own mind. Certainly, and only because his mind can run circles around any other mind I've ever met. But power is always subordinate with him. Manipulating people is the last thing in the world he'd want. So what do you think about power? Adam demanded. Power corrupts, Joshua quoted. Absolute power corrupts absolutely, Adam sighed. Joshua stood up. You don't want any dessert, do you? We'll have coffee at my place. I've made my decision about you, Adam, whether you trust me or not. For a moment, Adam felt only relieved that the decision had been made, that it had been taken out of his hands. Then he knew that if Joshua Archer were to try to send him back to America, he would have to escape him somehow, to go back to Callie and her father. But Joshua said, I'm going to take you to Gaia. And that is the end of chapter 8.